What's going on, everyone? So something that I've briefly touched on in a couple videos is, what if Koloko is actually really good? Now, the likelihood of that, I think, is slim, right? He's hasn't played in a year and a half. What is his conditioning like? Has he put on any weight? Right, because he's very thin. He is a floor running big. He is very versatile. The idea of Christian Koloko makes a ton of sense for the Lakers. A rebounding, floor running, shot blocking big man, especially with Anthony Davis wanting to spend more time at the four this year. Slotting in a guy like Koloko makes a ton of sense. Having him be able to block shots, or when Anthony Davis goes to the bench, having a shot blocker, which Jackson Hayes isn't, Christian Wood isn't, right? He, on the surface, makes a world of sense. But, again, he's coming off of a very serious health condition with the blood clots, and usually is career ending. So, the fact that he's getting another chance is remarkable, and I'm rooting for him, right? I want to see him have success, even more so now that he's a Laker. I wanted him to have success regardless, but now that he's a Laker, it's like, turn into a superstar, right? Because the better he is, better the Lakers are. But the Lakers signed him to a two-way deal, right? They ended up waiving Blake Hinson. I know that's not sitting well with a lot of people. Not super thrilled about that either myself, but it is what it is, right? Can't go back. We have now Koloko that we need to be the best version of himself as possible. And I'm curious to see how much run does he actually get, right? Because you still have Jackson Hayes. And yes, Christian Wood is out of commission for, at least 8 weeks. Keep that in mind. At least he's going to be reevaluated in 8 weeks. Doesn't mean he'll be back in 8 weeks. And I imagine Lakers are going to take their time. They also have Colin Castleton, which is like, are you ever going to let him see the court? Are you ever going to play him at all? Or are you just going to we're just going to, we brought in Koloko. Then why didn't you just waive Castleton? Why didn't you keep Blake Hinson and get rid of Castleton, right? Just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But, you still have Anthony Davis, who, yes, he wants to play more four, and maybe J.J. Redick and the Lakers will give that to him, but he's still going to be playing the center position, right? He's still going to be playing, at least probably 20 minutes a game at the center. Let's assume he plays 35 minutes a game, right? He probably starts the first 5 to 7 minutes at the center position, probably closes the last 5 to 7 minutes at the center position. So that's give you at least 14, 15 minutes. Then I imagine he plays the 5 here and there throughout the course of the game, right? So are you splitting, the other 28 minutes between Koloko and Hayes? Okay, possibly. But here's the other thing. The Lakers need another big man. They still need to go get a Valanciunas or something like that. Now, I do believe that Koloko is more of a long-term, high development big rather than like a guy that will help us now. I think the Lakers are even kind of looking at it that way of like, bring him, because if he was a guy that you were super high on to make an impact right now, probably aren't signing him to a two-way because he's very limited. He can only play so many games. This makes more sense for a guy that hasn't played in a year and a half. You're trying to kind of ease him back into the league, spend this year as a development guy, get some spot minutes here and there. And then, Jackson Hayes ends up leaving in free agency, and now you're bringing Koloko in that Jackson Hayes role. I could see that being the case. But, again, like, what if Koloko comes in and he plays in 15 minutes a game? And what if he's like an 8-6 guy with like 2 blocks? Right? Now, you might think like, oh, that's not crazy. But in 15 minutes a game as your, third big off the bench, that is. Right? Like if he's only playing 15 minutes a game and he's giving you, 8-6. Because, I mean, like you look at his stats and nothing really stands out crazy. But he also wasn't playing alongside a D'Angelo Russell. He also wasn't playing alongside an Austin Reeves and an Anthony Davis and a LeBron James. It's very different. Very different when you have a playmaker like LeBron. Very different when you have a playmaker like D'Angelo Russell. Austin Reeves was one of the better pick and roll playmakers in the league last season. Right? Like, you're talking about a guy that makes a ton of sense in those actions. Now, again, I don't... Koloko could be a 20-20 and 10 guy, with 10 blocks a game, I still think you go get a veteran center. Right? I still think you go get a Giannis Valanciunas. Also, Giannis kind of makes sense, right? Because like I said, you bring in Giannis Valanciunas, or Jonas. I don't know why I said Giannis Valanciunas. Right, you bring him in. He has this year, which again is kind of development year for Koloko. And then next year, you could bring Koloko in as your third big behind Valanciunas in that Jackson Hayes role. And then the third year, you could either A, move Valanciunas or move off of him because he'd have non-guaranteed, and now Koloko stepping into that primary big. If LeBron departs and he retires and leaves in 2 years, you're shifting Davis probably to the 4 full-time. So maybe Koloko's ready to take on that starting role, and you're shifting him into the start, right? And then, you keep Valanciunas as your backup big man. There's some options and flexibility there. My biggest concern with Koloko being good, right? Like, what if he's genuinely better than Jackson Hayes? Then my concern is, how do you fit him? How do you get him? Because you can only play him 52 games, right? So, like, are you now salary dumping in order to bring him up? Which, I mean, he'd have to be very good. Like, not just like, he's a 8-6 guy. No, he'd have to be like a 12-8 guy for that to make sense, right? If he's like 12-8 with 3 blocks a game, then yes, please, right? Like, do that. But I don't think realistically that's probably going to happen. I think he's going to just kind of get spot minutes. I think he's going to be a development guy. But it does beg the question, right? He's still supposed to get the opportunity, right? Based on the reports that came out, the Lakers are going to give him an opportunity to earn some real minutes, not garbage time, not just random, no, some real minutes were the reports in the front court, at the center position. So, again, what if he does show some promise? Again, what if he is excellent at just helping with the offensive glass and blocking shots and doing all the things that we desperately need at the center position alongside and backing up Anthony Davis? It's something that the Lakers are going to have to gauge and consider. Now, obviously, it's a good problem to have. Like, I don't want it to seem like I'm like, oh, like I can't. No, like, that's a good problem to have, right? Like, if you're able to have something like that work out to where he is so good, you got to start questioning, like, do we just, like, get rid of Jackson Hayes right now and just let Koloko? Because, again, you're going to have Christian Wood come back at some point. Anthony Davis is going to play minutes at some point at the center, right? Like, so, there's only so many minutes at center to go around. And you have several guys that can do that. And again, you might look at it and go, well, Christian Wood could play the 4 full time. Not if Anthony Davis is playing, 15, 20 minutes at the power forward. Because if LeBron plays 15, 20 minutes at the power forward and Anthony Davis plays 15, 20 minutes at power forward, you have like 8 to 15 minutes at the power forward position that's available. And if Rui is only going to play 15 minutes at the small forward because LeBron's playing another 20 at the small forward position, right? The only other way you're going to be able to get him minutes is play him the 4, right? So, and Christian Wood is better and more versatile than both of these guys. So that's something else to keep in mind, right? If I'm JJ Redick, I'm finding out immediately, right? Obviously, you're going to have training camp, preseason, stuff like that. But no, like I am, during preseason, I'm throwing Anthony Davis and Koloko out there together and playing them like 15 minutes and just seeing how does that look. And if it looks good, I'm doing it against Minnesota game 1. Because, if you're ever going to experiment, it's early. And Minnesota has Gobert and Towns on top of Naz Reid. So if you were ever like going to utilize your big men, that's the matchup. And again, I'm throwing Anthony Davis and him out there. Koloko out there, and I'm just going to see, what does that look like? How does that look? And if it looks great, doing it again and again and again and again, and then be like, okay, Rob, you need to get him on this roster, right? Like, because again, it is a real question. Like, what if he is good for the Lakers? What if he's everything that the Lakers need right now? Shot blocking, floor running big, that you can operate in the pick and roll, maybe on occasion step out, knock down the 3 ball. It's at least a question worth asking. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that, hey, if Koloko's good, bring him on? Do you have concerns? Do you think like, nah, look, he's not going to be anything more than just like a spot guy, spending most of the time in the G League? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.